could start in a variety of places. I won't sit here and talk through things that you have probably heard or read before.
And we won't let you.
But I guess what I would start with is, I think as the polls continue to come out, they show two important things. One is that Barbara Boxer is exceedingly vulnerable, and the other is that I'm the candidate best positioned to both win the primary and beat her in the general. Secondly, I think if you look at the data that is coming out about California recently, I think it's fair to predict that the issues that are on Californians' minds right now are going to continue to be the issues that are on their minds in November, which is why I think Barbara Boxer will continue to be vulnerable and I will prevail. Specifically, if you ask the voters of California right now what they're most concerned about, they're most concerned about jobs and out-of-control federal spending. And on Friday, the Labor Department issued a series of data on unemployment, and as I'm sure you're all aware, California now has 8 counties with unemployment above 20%. I think it's clear that the unemployment rates here in California have something to do with the tough economic climate, but also have a great deal to do with bad government policies and big government and high taxes and thick regulations. And so I think it's pretty clear that Californians are going to continue to stay focused on what about my job, what about my spouse's job, what about my children's future job. And of course, we also have the health care bill passed on Sunday. And we can talk more about the health care bill in detail if you'd like, but suffice it to say that it's going to make a difficult situation far worse in California. Of course, as you know, that bill throws about 16 million of the uninsured onto Medicaid. California is already way behind in terms of Medicaid. It's a burden that the states have to carry a great deal of. California is already receives less in Medicaid payments than New York, for example, even though we have more Medicaid recipients. So this is going to be a particularly tough deal for California to afford, and yet suddenly California is going to be saddled with yet another entitlement program that the state is going to be responsible for. And I think those facts will also cause voters to continue to be concerned about the level of government spending. In that climate, I think voters are going to continue to be frustrated with what they view as career politicians, whether they're in Sacramento or in Washington, D.C. And as I talk to voters across the state, and as the polling data demonstrates as well, more and more people are coming to believe that professional politicians are part of the problem, not part of the solution. And whether they agree or disagree with the health care bill that came out on Sunday, I think everyone is somewhat appalled by the deals that got cut to get it through, including a deal by a Democratic congressman to help turn some of the water back on in the Central Valley. I mean, it's wonderful that some of the water got turned back on, but my goodness, you can imagine how enraged the people of that valley are. And you can imagine how enraged they are that their own senator hasn't lifted a finger to turn that water back on. And so I think in that climate, someone like me, the only person in this race who's ever created a job, the only person who's ever met a payroll, the only person who's ever actually cut billions of dollars worth of expenditures and knows what that takes, the only person who's actually ever had to figure out a way to balance a budget in tough economic times, I think those are experiences and skills that the voters this time around will particularly value. I must say, as I travel up and down the state, I see voters of sort of all persuasions, and truthfully, obviously now I'm talking mostly to Republican primary voters, but I meet with a fair number of Democrats as well in various settings. And there is a high degree of angst, frustration, in some cases anger. I think people have this gut feeling that we need to be doing something different. And I think that's an opportunity. I think it's an opportunity to beat Barbara Boxer. I think it's an opportunity for the people of California to send somebody different to Washington, D.C.